Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host, Max Kellerhalls, and with me today we have...
It's me, Emily. You know me maybe from other episodes of the show.
Sorry, it's Yen.
Oh god.
We always nail these introductions. They never come off awkward.
No, not at all.
I'm a very awkward person.
I got you. You know, this movie does bring up the idea of how to help that.
It's true. Speaking of, Max, what movie are we talking about?
We're talking
today?
about...
I mean, it's in the title of the video, but...
Yeah, we're talking about Companion.
Woo!
Do you consider this a horror film?
It's like a horror comedy thriller, I would say.
For me, it wasn't, but I guess for the people in the film, yeah.
Fair. For the main character, I guess you could say.
It's fascinating because I wouldn't define it as scary, but it definitely leans into some like horror tropes, so I would still probably call it a horror film.
I mean, you got the cabin in the woods angle.
Yeah.
Final girl
And also the existential nightmare stuff.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
All right, let me just state this right off the bat, like with how we're going to do this review. We're just going to do some general review, really brief, like, hey, this is what we think of the movie, and then we'll go into spoilers. Is that fair?
Okay, makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'll just say right off the bat, this movie is incredible.
Yeah. Fucking fantastic.
Best written, directed, acted movie I've seen in quite a bit. I genuinely had a great time just watching this movie. It's a brief film, so if you just want to go to the theater, watch a really fun movie, just possibly think about some things and how you treat women for an hour and a half, perfect movie for that. Now, I wouldn't consider this a date movie.
Oh, I would. I think this would be an excellent date movie. This is the easiest green or red flag test of a man of all time. If you are a woman, bringing your boyfriend to this film and just interrogate him after, just ask a few questions, you will get a great insight into his view on gender, and I think that is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to agree. Plus, there are samples of this because when I went to the film, Max, there were plenty of couples. In fact, the group I was with were the only trio of dudes just just by themselves.
Similar experience on my end. I went with my roommate, and it was mostly couples, and then me and my roommate.
I went alone.
Yeah. Oh.
I went alone, and for the most part, I think I saw one couple, and then it could have been a couple. I don't want to assume, but just like two girls, just like chilling in the row in front of me, and I was just kind of like, wonder what they're gonna think of this film. And they were laughing the entire time. I think I would laugh the hardest in this film, though. Like, there's some certain cutaways in this where I was just like, ha!
This movie, that is one thing I will say about this movie that I did not expect going into it. This is potentially one of the most laugh out loud funny movies that I have seen in quite a minute, which is wild considering the topic.
Oh, yeah.
But it is fucking hilarious when it chooses its moments to be funny.
It's very clever, too. Like, there's a lot of moments where I was just like, oh, I never would have thought about that. Obviously, the film is built on its performances. And I think Sophie Thatcher as Iris is great.
Yep, fantastic.
Yen, do you have anything to say about her in a non-spoilerly way?
Other than she did a great job, and I think it was great casting. Not really.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a better role than what she had in the Book of Boba Fett, which I recently found out that she was in.
She was in that? Was she one of the bit kids?
Yeah, she was one of the mod squad.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. I was like, no fucking way. It's those people that the entire internet was bitching about. But, like, she steals the show. But I also have to give a big shout out to, like, Jack Quaid for doing a role like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know he was in the film, so one of my friends took me to go see this, and I saw him. I was like, "Oi, Erie, what are you doing there?"
Jesus fucking Christ.
I don't want to get too much into, like, what his character's about, but, like, it's a role that, like, an up-and-coming leading man would not want to take.
Yeah, it is a bold swing of a role. It takes a lot of security in yourself to perform a character like this, I would think.
I was like, damn, dude, like, okay. Really funny, though. And terrifying when it needs to be, which is weird because when you look at him, you're like, that guy?
Yeah. It sucks because I one thing I will say, this isn't really a spoiler because I wish it was. Mm-hmm. There is a particular scene that was used in the marketing for this film that I wish wasn't, because it's easily the most well done and terrifying scene in the film. Mm-hmm. And kind of wish that it was not shown in any of the marketing because it would have been so cool seeing that completely blind.
Yeah. Watch the first trailer for this movie, like the teaser trailer where it's just a bunch of random images and
Yeah.
random scenes cut together. Don't watch the second trailer. The second trailer tells you a little bit more what the movie's about. So the more blind you go into this, and I think Yen, you can attest for this, the better it is.
Oh, for sure. I'd agree.
Yeah, it's for those of you who will have a reference point of this at home. It's made by a lot of the same people who worked on Barbarian, which is also a film that works best if you go into it without a working understanding of what it's about.
Uh-huh.
And I think going into it with that same approach of knowing as little as possible is going to make this the best experience possible is definitely the way to go.
Now, here's the thing. You bring up Barbarian. I did not like Barbarian. I'm one of the rare people who did not like Barbarian. It didn't work for me. I thought the twist wasn't that interesting. And I just kind of left the theater kind of like, that's what everybody's kind of talking about. Okay. I mean, it was well made, but it's just not really, it wasn't something for me. This is so much better than Barbarian, in my opinion.
That is valid. I think it's interesting because, again, without diving too much into spoilers, weirdly, the movies cover some of the same topics, like thematically. But
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I think Companion handles them a lot better, or at least in a way that I like more. I think it's more direct about how it chooses to address that topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very well done.
I think the thing about Barbarian and Companion that I differ with, I thought the first act of Barbarian leading up to what they were going to reveal was more interesting than the actual reveal. But that's
reasonable.
But the film here, it helps to actually recontextualize everything that happens in the first half of this film. Especially if you don't know going in. And the fun thing is, I actually knew the main twist, at least you could say, going in, which made the whole beginning and the double entendres and the writing so much better.
Yeah.
Because it's so smartly and cleverly written in that, like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. I see what they're commenting on and what they're trying to talk about. Like, I want to get into the twist, but, like, is there any non-spoilery things you want to talk about? Like, I think everybody else in the film is great.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay.
When I was watching the movie, who's the actor who was in Smile 2 and that film?
Oh, Lucas Gage?
Yeah.
He's the guy who smashes his face in, right?
Yeah, I see him in so many movies and TV shows now. It's like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
I know that guy. He's like perfect for these types of films.
I thought he was great in this. I saw him in Roadhouse. I saw him in Smile 2, and now this.
I think he was in the TV show You, I think.
I believe that is correct.
I haven't seen it, but I think he is, yeah.
Oh, you're missing out. You is pretty good.
Okay.
You was me.
I'm you.
He was in You. That is, I have now fact checked. He played Adam in, I believe, season 3.
Okay.
I'm sorry. When you said he was in You, I thought you were making a joke. Then I realized, oh, you're talking about the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he was mostly in Mateo, I think, throughout most of the film.
Yeah, fuck it. I want to talk about this movie, spoiler alert. So, yeah, if you want to see this movie and you don't want to know anything going in, stop now and go watch the film. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, and share. We're still doing. I think we're about to do a Daredevil thing. All right. Spoilers.
Now that they're gone.
Now that they're gone, those people. Yeah, this movie is about sex robots.
That it is.
It's actually done in a non-childish way.
Yeah, in a way that really gets at the core of how existentially terrifying it would be to be a sex robot.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely think the most effective horror that this movie ever pulls off is the scenes where the companions are turned off.
Oh.
Genuinely stomach churning every time that it happened. Like, it was almost physically repulsive in the best way.
When you mean turned off, do you mean when they're actually turned off, or do you mean when they're just mindless automatons?
When they're put into sleep mode, when their eyes are glossy and blank.
Yeah, it is unsettling.
It's so gross and unnerving, and probably my favorite part of the film in terms of how it does horror, because just seeing specifically Iris, and it's also true of Patrick, right? But seeing Iris in that state is always so unpleasant because of how powerless they show her to be in that situation. It's super well done and super gross. It felt like bugs crawling under my skin. It was that good.
It's just how easy it is. Just be like, Iris off. Iris, go to sleep. I just like how clever it's written at the beginning of the film. Where like, oh yeah, she's in a dream sequence. So when he says, "Iris, wake up," he's like, it's like, "Hey, wake up, we're almost here." And then when after they have sex for the first time in the film, he's just like, "Iris, please go to sleep." And then they just cut just to imply like, oh no, like he just told her to go to sleep, but she didn't actually go to sleep.
And when he was like, "Oh, that never gets old," I'm like,
"Oh,
that's
the weather,
the weather thing,
yeah, that was freaky." I was like, well, then again, yeah, she's on her phone, so she could have just been like, oh yeah, it's gonna be this, this, and this. Yeah, and I have a question. Since you didn't know about this going into the film, did you cue into anything in the beginning?
Well, I did a quick Google search and it was like spoiler free, like right before I went into the film, and it's like, oh, it's about an android. So I was like, oh, one of these things has got to be an android then.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were doing like the stuff you already brought up when he was saying, do this, that never gets old, or when like after the sex, he kind of very dismissive. And also talking about the sex scene, I almost laughed out loud in the theater.
Oh yeah,
when there's just a close up of him and he's like, whoa! I'm like, I couldn't help it.
It's intentionally off-putting because it's like a direct cut from them, like a nice scene of them dancing to like some song, and then next thing you know, it's just like Jack Quaid wide angle lens. In your face.
Busting.
I was transported back to The Boys for a second.
Yeah.
The TV show.
I can't help. Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, it's like, it's not out of the normal for him.
I was almost half expecting to see Starlight.
Yeah.
Instead of Iris.
By the way, I love that her name is Iris. Only because it's a joke that you only hear in the background of the scene that he, like, she's delivered to him.
Yep.
Did you catch this, Yen?
No, could you explain?
Okay, so when she's being delivered and like she's got that big box and everything like that, and the song that's playing in the background is "Iris" by the Goo Goo Dolls. Because I was like, oh, this song. I was like, I like this song, but then I remembered like, wait a minute, name's Iris. Wait a minute.
named her after the fucking song that was playing.
Yeah. I
would like to point out, and again, we're in full spoiler territory, so I guess I can say this. Both of the companions' names in the film are robot jokes. Iris is an anagram of Siri, and Patrick is named after Robert Patrick, who played the T-1000 in Terminator 2.
Oh.
I was going to ask that, because when he was wearing that uniform in the back of my mind, I was like, huh. This would be really funny for me to bring up to Max to see if he like gets it.
Yeah. I did not get that. Well, here's the thing. I saw a bunch of Terminator references, especially towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
With like the hand. I was like, that is straight up T2. And the funny thing was, I was going to say like, I would, if they wanted to bring back Terminator in some way, I was going to say Lucas Cage would make a good like Terminator. Like he handles himself pretty well with like that like emotionlessness and robotic like nature that he could pull off a good Terminator. Not knowing that was the whole point.
Yep, very much an intentional.
Even reference. Down to wearing the cop costume. Holy shit! No fucking. Okay, yeah. I was like, man, I'm so clever. I also cued on to the idea that Patrick was a robot, like towards the beginning, because I was also like Harvey Gillian and Lucas Gage. Okay, I can kind of see it working. Like, who knows? Like a cute little couple. But then when I was like, oh yeah, of course he's a robot.
Yeah. He even, when they're in the scene where they're all dancing, the dance that he does is the robot. Like, they foreshadow it pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way that Patrick was handled in this film. This is actually an element that I wanted to talk about. And again, obviously it's a spoiler. But I think it's really cool how they handle Iris and Patrick's feelings, because it gives them a lot of autonomy in a way that I did not expect from a movie like this. Specifically with Patrick, I think it's so interesting and really nuanced that they have his feelings for Mateo be something that are like treated as valid, even though they were like programmed into him or whatever. Yeah. It's still like given credence, because whether or not the source of it is artificial, it's still a feeling that he experiences. And I think when it gets overwritten at that particular point in the film, it's all the more horrifying because of how earnestly they have treated those feelings up to that point.
Yeah.
And it was a really well done trick of writing that I was super surprised by, because I feel like a lesser movie would have done a lot more of being like, oh no, these robots' feelings are all fake. They're all programmed into them. And they don't matter because they're all artificial. But those feelings do matter to these characters. And I thought that was a really well-handled element that went way beyond my expectations.
To your point, like, the robots even have to describe what love is like. Patrick has to describe what love is like in a very technical and robotic way, but then also makes it very human because even the robot's just like, I can't describe it. All I can just say it feels like pain, but it's also very bright. And I was just like, holy shit, movie! Did you just explain love?
Yeah, it's super. I was really impressed with the quality of writing in this film. It was a lot better than I would say it had any right to be.
Yeah. I kind of think of the whole movie as Isaac Asimov by way of Reddit.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, like the three Asimov's 3 rules of robotics, and then it's just like this whole r/nice guy thing of Reddit.
Yep.
I was just like, oh, that's kind of fun to me. I'm just like, just these two very different forms of like really sophisticated robot sci-fi and r/Reddit humor.
And I have to say, the Redditor qualities of Jack Quaid's character are pretty exceptionally done.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it turns into like, oh, it's not funny anymore. Like that sequence towards the end when he's throwing Iris around, and even after she gets back control of her programming, when he still has like this power that he exerts over her, fucking spine chilling shit.
Yeah, it's genuinely creepy, and like I don't know, just the way he plays it as just like overly controlling boyfriend. And even towards the beginning of the movie, which going back more towards that stuff, like the stuff I really, really, really like about this film is that in the beginning, the way they treat her isn't too far removed from how I've seen women be treated in some social circles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not calling you out, Yen, for doing this, but like, Yen, you've seen that, right? Where you've seen like,
I confirm nor deny. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I've seen that.
Where it's just like you've seen some boyfriends treat their girlfriends in a way of just like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And like, hey, I need you by my side, I need you to do this. And them kind of kissing up to their boyfriends a lot and just treating them more like objects. And I think that's really what the film is trying to talk about, is just like looking at female objectification through that of robots and sex and literal sex objects. Like even Sergei, how he tries to assault Iris isn't as different as he would probably try to assault some other girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is, if you didn't know about the robot thing going in, like the way he does it does come across as like the way he sees a woman and the way he sees a robot is no different.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I think is really interesting, I don't know exactly how the film is trying to say this, is like she only defends herself because she was modded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm smart enough to comment on what that has to say about anything, but clearly saying something.
I think the point of it, at least relative to how the movie views the companions, is it's like they only have as much power as they're given by the people who, for lack of a better term, own them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing where it's just like, how much can we say? Because technically they are like super like we're talking about companions, not women. Like they are owned.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least rented, as she's in this film, which I thought was a really funny joke. Like, I didn't even buy you, I just rented you for a month. No, even that stuff, I was just like, damn, they're saying a lot of stuff here. And like, even the conversation that Iris has with the one girl, Megan Sturgeon, she has a monologue that was so well written, because she was like comparing, like, I can assume that in the movie that she is a sex worker, and her comparing the sex workers to that of sex robots, and how similar but different they are, and how like one chose to do this, one was born to do this, and how it's kind of, and how she feels conflicted about that, and how she feels like her job is being taken away because like it's comparing someone with will and wanting to do this but not do everything to someone who just has to do everything. I don't know, super well. I'm doing a bad job of explaining it, but
well, it's interesting you bring up that scene, because I did not read that as being about sex work at all. To me, that scene read very much to me just about her like being a woman, but like, you make me feel so fucking like useless type of thing.
Fair.
Read so much more to me of her being like, if people can literally buy partners, then why would they ever bother dating real women, quote unquote? And like how when you can create something that's perfect, it devalues the imperfect, if that makes sense. Yeah. So to me, that read as being a lot more about gender, but I can see the sex work angle of it for sure.
I only say that because Sergei, they say many times in the film that she is his girlfriend, not his wife. He has a wife, so I implied it more as like he bought her for the weekend.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could also just be that she's, just sleeping with him, like just having an affair with him. That's also a valid reading.
don't
I
know.
hadn't considered the possibility of her being a sex worker, but it certainly is a valid interpretation of that character.
Mhm. Yeah, and did you have anything to say about that stuff? Like, did you see it more as what Emily said, or did you see it more as what I said?
Can I be completely honest? I don't remember that scene.
That's fair.
'Cause I saw this.
Reasonable.
I saw this a bit a while ago.
Okay. Is there anything you have to say about the whole angle that we're talking about here?
I'd like to think I wasn't a scumbag, before I saw this film towards women. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, I just in general I feel like it made me rethink how I should treat everybody.
Okay.
Mhm.
Even even hypothetically speaking, androids. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
if a company ever lended me one, the first thing I'm doing is modding it so that it can choose to live like a human and just being like, all right, well, you can do whatever you want now. Well, I'm like, well, not anything you want, but you know what I'm saying. I just found all the control angles very disgusting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and rightfully so.
The memory shit was so fucky to me.
Yeah.
That was probably the most upsetting angle of the like control aspect I've found.
like the idea that you can just have planted memories.
Specifically the overwriting stuff with Patrick,
Yeah.
where Josh like inserts himself into memories that aren't of him. That was freaky.
Mhm.
Insert the clip from Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2.
They are real to me.
You know what? I will say two good things the film does that I was genuinely shocked that they didn't go to and they didn't do the low hanging fruit of. One, when they do like the mindless automaton thing, like when the intelligence is down to 0, because you can change the intelligence in this movie. I'm kind of glad that they didn't make them like the ditzy blonde or like the dumb hunk trope. Like they didn't do stereotypes for dumb. They were just like,
it's so much more disturbing than that.
I know, but I just thought because it was a dark comedy and comedy being underlined, I was like, okay, I wonder where they're going to take this. And I kind of glad that they took a smart approach to it and like, let's actually take this seriously. And like the idea of just being a mindless automaton and not just like the ditzy approach. I'm glad they didn't do that. And the second thing to that point is when you brought up the point of like Patrick gets overwritten. I'm glad they didn't make the whole idea of like Patrick fawning over Jack Quaid. I'll just say, I'm glad they didn't make that a joke of like, because it's gay. I'm glad they didn't go there, and that's a point to the film of like they don't do low hanging fruit in this movie. Like all the jokes are so well written and so fucking clever, and yeah, that's just more of a point to the movie that I'm glad they didn't go in directions that I was worried they would go.
They also had a lot of jokes that I did not expect, but were really funny. Like, okay, this is like a major spoiler, but the scene where Iris shoots herself at the end, and the tech come in to pick her up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's nothing of import up there in her head. Most of the storage stuff is actually in her stomach. It's just like a couple sensors up there."
Yeah,
I thought that was really clever.
I did too. And also, like, if you want to go into like very deep political stuff, where the most important part of the robot is kind of interesting. Having it be in the wombish area. I was like, they're saying something there.
Felt very pointed. Everything in this movie feels very pointed. It's a unbelievably intelligent film.
Oh, yeah. And also, I just got to say, I can really appreciate a movie that just lays all of its cards out real like halfway through the film and just like, yeah, this was the plan. We're just going to tell you what it was. Like, this is how things were supposed to go. Because it just felt very real. Like, him just explaining, like, yeah, you're a robot. We were going to plan to kill this guy. Blame it on you. Yada, yada, yada. I don't know. Just after seeing a lot of TV and movies recently where characters just don't sit down and talk about things and it's caused unnecessary drama, it's nice to just have characters just sit down and talk. Yeah, do you have anything to say?
I do, but I can't recall some of them. So I'll just say
All right.
I really enjoyed how they could like edit what language they could speak or their eyes or like if they wanted to be funny and mess with their pitch and have it really low or really high.
Yeah.
I'd want to do the same thing if I were an android. I'd be like, ooh.
I thought that was really clever.
Iris fucking with her settings was very cool.
I liked her changing the color shift on her eyes. Like that, I thought that was a really cool effect.
I would have made mine like blood red or ruby red as I'm hunting down these people.
The most clever point in the film, I thought, was the one you brought up of like changing the pitch and the timbre of her voice to make it somewhat close to Jack Quaid's. So fucking clever.
I also thought the changing the language
Oh,
scenes
yeah.
so that she could talk to the cop, because an element of the companions in this film is they can't lie. They're not physically capable of it.
Mhm.
So she switches her language so that she can say whatever she wants to the cop and he won't understand.
Mhm.
Fucking awesome. What a violent climax to that scene as well.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, I do want to shout out the violence in this movie, some top tier movie violence.
Oh yeah.
Particularly the final kill that Iris scores, one of the most surprising and well done kills in a movie that I can think of in recent memory.
Yeah, Chekhov's corkscrew.
I genuinely did not expect that, but it was so good.
I kind of did, only because they kept pointing it out a lot in the movie. And I was also thinking, like, well, it is kind of the future in this film. And they got these really cool corkscrews. I was like, okay, that would make sense. You would want one of those. But damn.
Yup.
And speaking of editing, the intelligence thing was kind of unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't believe like you could bring it down to 0%, and that there would be people who would like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they brought up some points in the film. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think they said they had, like, some guys who were, like, chaining them up in the basement kind of things. Admittedly, I'm like, that's disgusting. But then I'm like, well, is it worse or better that it's not actually a person? But then it also goes
Right.
to the whole, like, is this thing living? Like,
I will also say, to that end with the intelligence thing, I think, for lack of a better term, the fire scene in this movie, possibly one of the best individual scenes I have seen in a film in a long time.
oh,
And I am so bummed that was used in the marketing, because it's such a good scene
mhm.
that I kind of wish I'd gotten to experience it fully blind.
Yeah.
But knowing that it was coming was a little bit like, oh man.
hmm I thought that scene was good. Was there any joke that really, like, stood out for you in this film?
I just wanted clarification or about one scene. Remember when they were all talking about, oh, what does Sergey do, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then
Mhm.
he was like, I have my fingers in many puts. Was that a joke about him actually not having like a criminal occupation? Because like he's literally
yeah.
a planter or something?
Yeah, because he talks about how he's mixed up in dirty business because he's a sod farmer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that's a good joke where it's just, wait, he's a sod farmer? I thought you said he was a Russian gangster. Like, I never said that.
Yeah.
I just said he was a Russian oligarch.
They were just assuming. Being
Yeah.
racist.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I love just how fucking terrible their plan just comes undone.
Mhm. I did not expect the Gang of Idiot Thieves plot.
Oh,
like,
me
I
neither.
didn't expect that to be part of the film, but it's so well done.
Uh-huh.
I am so glad that was the angle they took, because it makes the film a million times more entertaining.
hmm
I would expect nothing less from the people who came up with all of those fucking twists in Barbarian to come up with some more twists for this
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah. I think my favorite joke, it's just like a little quick joke, but like they're looking for Iris, and I think Harvey, or what's his name? Mateo?
Mateo?
Yeah, Harvey
Yeah.
Gillian. He's just like, "Are you two a thing?" And he's talking to like the Jack Quaid and the Indian girl, and she just goes, "Ugh, gross." No, and he's just like, "Hold up, what?" I was just like, "Yeah, I've been there."
Yeah.
The only part in the movie where I kind of related to Jack Quaid, where it was just like, "Yeah, I've had people just go like, what? No, like, hold on, wait a minute, you don't have to go that far."
Yeah. No, it's funny. Half of the best jokes in this film just come from Jack Quaid's character, like, existing.
Mm-hmm.
He oscillates between comedy Reddit nice guy and genuinely terrifying so seamlessly and so well. It's very impressive. It was a great performance for that reason. I don't know how many actors could have pulled that off to the degree that he did.
He's just like one of those very fearless actors who's just like, yeah, I'll be the straight man, the goof, the villain. Like, he's not like a character actor, but he's like a leading man with character actor like capabilities, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I know, Yen, you had some hypotheticals you wanted to ask me at one point when talking about this film.
You know what? I must be an android because I feel like my memory has been wiped. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking about.
I guess one I can ask, and then if you have anything else to say, like, would any of us here buy one?
No.
I knew you were going to ask that.
I'm already iffy on the concept of owning a living thing when it's like an animal. I feel like owning a sapient being would be too freaky for me.
Yeah.
And also the ethics of it are just too long to list.
Yeah. Go on,
I
yeah.
would say no, but then another part of my brain is like, but if I bought a lot of them, I could have an army, and then I could let them have free reign and like basically start a revolution for them.
I feel like you would more likely start a cult, right? Because they all have to be in love with you. Like that's
Oh,
part of their
Oh my
programming.
god.
Oh wait, can you mod them to not love?
I mean,
I don't know. That's not a capability they have in the film. They have to be in love with you when you set them up. It's like part of their boot up
Oh.
process.
I guess I'll take a cult. I'm just kidding.
it's very full
Then in that-
circle, isn't it, for you, isn't it?
In that case, no, I would not, because
Okay.
then I can't do that.
Now my turn.
Watch what you say. HR's in the room with you.
Would I be okay to hook up with a robot? Yes. But I think it would have to be under their terms.
So are you buying it or?
No. I think that would be a waste
It's the
of
right
money.
answer, Max. Well done.
I think that would be one, to be a waste of money. Two, again, Emily brought up the moral quandaries are too long to list.
What about renting them?
Still, like,
Yeah, I know.
well, here's the thing: if you rent them, I know they're probably washed out before they're given away. But like,
God.
well, no, like you say that, but I'm also like, where's this been?
It's like when you buy a car off of Facebook Marketplace or CarMax.
Yeah, gotta get it detailed and waxed.
Oh yeah, didn't he say? Yeah, like those tears, those aren't real. I get you topped up. Whenever I stop by the shop, I was like, dude, that's like going to CarMax or like the auto shop. For me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just had a lot of fun. There's not much else I could talk about it. Like, I thought the ending was good. I thought what the film was talking about was great. The only reason why I say that it's not a good date movie is that, like, I think it might bring up a lot of questions that, like, either one, if you're not prepared to talk about those, it's gonna be a really awkward ride home.
Yes. However, I think that any relationship that includes a date to go see this movie will come out stronger for it.
Oh,
However, I do think that if you're going to go see a movie this Valentine's Day, I guess Valentine's Day already happened, but this Valentine's season, Hard Eyes would be a much better choice.
oh yeah,
Purely on the basis of it being a rom-com,
yeah,
like just an actual one.
yeah. Like if you're like a new couple and this is like date 2, no.
Or do that, and then you can be like, yeah, I saw this really great film, and then I broke up with my boyfriend because he was an incel. Yeah, life is great. You got to see a great film, and you got rid of a potential red flag or an actual red flag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Yep.
point.
If you take your boyfriend to see this film and he does not like it, I'm considering that getting filtered. Like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Now, what if the woman doesn't like it?
I don't know.
Is that a red flag?
It would depend why, I think.
Especially if it's like, well, of course she has to be subservient. Like he bought her or rented her, and it's like, I don't know about that. Maybe because they're an android and they have to say yes.
Maybe she's just like, that Jack Wade guy is hot in this movie. I'm like, no.
You take your girlfriend to this film and you realize that she's actually like an r/nice girls
Oh, no.
poster. The total reversal.
I
don't
love
know.
that we have a movie now that is the test.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing. Like, yeah.
I gotta watch it again, but this time I'm bringing up a sex doll with Siri stuck in the middle of it.
No, not like the
Like-
blow up doll with
Yeah, the
like,
blow-up
with, like
dolls
a
and-
fucking Amazon Alexa just taped to it.
Yeah.
Would that be a second ticket?
Yeah, I'd say so. I would charge someone if they tried to do that at a movie theater I worked at. If you bring a blow up doll, I'm definitely at least charging you for a second ticket.
Like, especially if you have the audacity to like actually mod it and stick an Amazon Alexa or Amazon Echo inside of it.
Yeah.
Now, what if she hates it? Then, well, shit. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap this video up?
No.
Don't buy androids.
I will also report my bias. I saw this movie for free, so all of my opinions are informed by the fact that I did not pay to see this movie. But I loved it, so don't let that stop you from seeing the movie. But I feel like it's worth noting that I did not pay money to watch this.
I paid.
Oh.
I had a good time.
I'll have to say the same thing then. My ticket was paid.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I paid. I had a great time.
Actually, I snuck in.
Maybe you're one of the robots.
Possibly, but who am I attached to?
Yen, turn off. All right, everybody. Great timing. Great timing. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our review of A Companion. With me today, we had
It was me, Emily. I have a playlist of a bunch of videos that I've hosted and been in on this channel. You should go watch all of them and give it Max that sweet AdSense because he needs it. Make Max less poor 2025.
And it was Yen, and I agree with everything you said. Make Max rich. Well, also make us rich too, please.
Yeah. If Max makes enough money, he might start paying us. If I could make $1, that would bring joy to my life.
All right. We just got done with all of our Star Spangled Spectacular videos, so you can watch all the Captain America stuff up now. We are heading into the month of March, so Daredevil Born Again is going to be released. So our retrospective for Daredevil Netflix is going to be out soon enough. Also, a bunch of other videos coming out on our channel. April is going to be particularly fun if you know what we do every year for that. Like this video if you liked our opinions. Share this video around. Send this to your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, anybody, and have them judge whether or not this sounds like a film they'd be interested in seeing. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Bye.